Thank you very much, Judge Kohler. We each have 5 minute rounds to ask the nominees questions, and I'll start with Mr. Federico. I think we have considered approximately 157 nominees for Article III judgeships before this committee in the time that I've been the chairman. And I would say that it's pretty predictable how each of us react after all those experiences and all the different nominees. There's a feeling among some that anyone who is a public defender is soft on crime and won't take it seriously. And they'll go back in cases that they defended and say, that criminal defendant was a bad guy, and you stood up for him and fought for his rights in court and did your duty as a defense counsel. And they'll think that that really tells the story of what kind of judge you may be. Now, you have a confounding background when it comes to that, because you've served as both a prosecutor and as a defense counsel in your career, and certainly during the time you were serving in the Navy and Navy Reserve, I'm sure you had opportunities to deal with both sides and both tables in the room. What can you tell us about your background that would assure people that you will be fair-minded and not lean one way or the other when it comes to criminal cases?
Mr. Chairman, as you noted, I have served as a Navy prosecutor. My first full active duty tours were as a Navy prosecutor, first here in Norfolk, Virginia, and then overseas in Europe and Southwest Asia. So I had the experience as a prosecutor before I received orders to then go on the defense side at the military commissions, and then I later was an officer in charge of defense offices. So as an active duty judge advocate, I certainly experienced both sides of the aisle. I think that makes me potentially understand the equities that the parties bring within the courtroom. Of course, later in my career, I've become a military judge, and so transferring from an advocate onto the bench to neutrally decide the issues that are before me in cases, I know that I was able to lean on my experience as a prosecutor and as a defense counsel and as an appellate defense counsel in my reserve capacity. So certainly in my military career, I have done both sides of the aisle. I know that can only make me a better circuit judge. As a federal public defender, of course, I get court appointed to represent persons charged in federal court with crimes. But again, my job, and I believe very strongly in the Sixth Amendment and the right to counsel, and what a great country and system we have, that not only do we afford counsel to persons that are charged, but we demand that that counsel represent them zealously within the bounds of the law. So I take that oath I took as a lawyer, similar to the oath I took as a naval officer, very seriously. And I understand that crime impacts all of our communities. I've worked with victims directly, with victim outreach, and so I understand that side of it as well. It is my hope and belief that all of those experiences will make me a better circuit judge should I be confirmed.
Thank you. Judge Kohler, I have to confess a conflict of interest. Wayne Anderson has been my personal friend for decades, and we went out to dinner together just a few months ago. I know you clerk for him, and he's now in private life, but he's a member of the other party in my state that I've respected and counted as a friend for a long period of time, and I'm sure you feel the same about him. How about this world of appellate practice? Tell me about your preparation for that.
Thank you, Senator. I started at the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Northern District of Indiana as the appellate point of contact, and I was fortunate enough early in my career as a federal prosecutor to focus on appellate work, and I drafted or argued over 20 cases in the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals, and that was an experience that laid the groundwork in a very real way for my career on the bench now and my time as a federal prosecutor. It allowed me to see how a record develops and how that translates into appellate practice, and gave me deep familiarity with the entire spectrum of a case from the beginning to end. It helped me in avoiding issues as a prosecutor when I later went on to prosecute complex cases, and I think it's prepared me well for the position of circuit judge.
Thanks, Judge Kohler. Senator Graham.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I try to be open-minded and broad